Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever just stopped and thought about how wild it is that we can speak? I mean, how we take something as basic as air and turn it into, well, into everything. Conversations, stories, ideas. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that incredible process, so let's dive right in. It really all boils down to this question, right here. How does a simple puff of air, just air, from your lungs become a really complex, multi-syllable word like phonetics? It seems almost impossible, but it's something your body just does thousands of times a day without you even thinking about it. We're about to follow that puff of air on its amazing journey. You can think of this whole thing in three big steps, kind of like an assembly line for speech. First up, you've got respiration. That's our power source. Then it moves to phonation, which is the sound engine, and finally articulation, where that raw sound gets sculpted into the words we actually recognize. So let's start at the very beginning. All right, our journey starts deep down in the chest, with the one thing that powers pretty much all human speech. So before you can make any sound at all, you need energy. And for speaking, that energy isn't some kind of fuel or electricity. It's just a controlled stream of air. And the organ that's in charge of providing it? Yep, your lungs. This whole first stage is called respiration. This is a perfect way to picture it. Seriously, just like a power station generates all the electricity for a city, your lungs, your diaphragm, and your rib cage all work together to push out this steady stream of air that powers everything you say. No air, no voice. It is that fundamental. And for us English speakers, there's basically a default setting for how this all works. The air we use is pulmonic, which just means it starts in the lungs, and it's aggressive, which means it's flowing outwards. And here's the kicker. Every single sound in the English language, from an ah to a z, is made using this exact same mechanism. So we've got our power source sending a totally silent stream of air up from the lungs. The next stop on this journey is the larynx. This is where that silence gets broken and raw sound is actually born. This is our sound engine. And this stage is called phonation, so the air travels up from the lungs and hits your larynx, which you probably know it as your voice box. Now, the main job of the larynx is actually to act as a valve to protect your lungs from, stuff getting in there, but for speech, it takes on this much more exciting role. And this guitar string idea nails it. Inside the larynx, you have your vocal cords, and they can be brought together. As that air from your lungs pushes through them, they vibrate super, super fast, hundreds of times a second. And just like plucking a guitar string, that vibration turns the silent air into an audible buzzing sound wave. That buzz, that's the raw material for your voice. And what's really cool is that by just subtly changing how the vocal cords are positioned, the larynx can produce this whole range of sound qualities. A whisper, for example, isn't from vibration at all. It's just the friction of air squeezing through a tiny opening. Or that low, gravelly sound you might make when you're really tired? That's what we call a creaky voice. It just goes to show how incredibly versatile this little sound engine of ours really is. Okay, we have power, and we have a raw sound. But a simple buzz isn't language, right? So the final, and I think most magical step, is to shape that sound into distinct letters and words. Welcome to the Sculptor's Studio. Articulation is where the real magic happens. As that buzzing sound wave travels up through your vocal tract, that's the space in your throat, your mouth, and your nose, a whole set of organs called articulators get to work, basically sculpting that sound into the building blocks of speech. And we basically have two types of these articulators. The active ones are the movers. Think about your tongue, which is insanely flexible, and your lower lip. Then you have the passive articulators, the fixed points they move against. So to make a T sound, for example, your active tongue tip moves up and touches the passive alveolar ridge, that little bump right behind your top teeth. The truly mind-blowing part is the speed and precision of this whole dance, creating dozens of distinct sounds every second, all without you even thinking about it. So everything we've covered so far has been powered by air coming from the lungs, and that's how English works. But the human ability to make speech sounds is way bigger than that. Now we get to explore some of the other really surprising ways languages can power their sounds. So this is the key takeaway here. While English only uses the pulmonic airstream from the lungs, there are actually two other engines for creating sound. One uses the glottis, that's the little space between your vocal cords, and the other uses the velum, which is the soft palate at the very back of the roof of your mouth. Let's check out the glottic mechanism first. So for this, you completely seal off your vocal cords, and then you move your entire larynx either up or down, kind of like a piston. This either squeezes the air that's trapped in your throat or it creates a little pocket of low-pressure air, all without ever using your lungs. So if you move the larynx up, you compress the air. And when you release another closure in your mouth, you get this really sharp, poppy sound called an ejective, which you'll find in languages like Hausa. But if you move the larynx down, you create a partial vacuum. And that results in this really unique sound called an implosive, used in languages like Sindhi. So you get two totally different kinds of sounds, powered by the larynx itself. Pretty cool, huh?
And now for the most unusual one of them all, the Valeric airstream. Honestly, the best way to get this is to think about what you're doing when you drink through a straw. You use your tongue to create a tiny pocket of low pressure in your mouth to pull the liquid up. Well, this mechanism basically hijacks that same action for speech.
This is how click consonants are made. What you do is create a seal at the very back of your mouth with your velum, and then another one at the front with your tongue. Then you lower the middle of your tongue, creating that little vacuum. When you release that front seal, air rushes in to fill the space, and that makes that sharp click sound. It's a purely mechanical sound, and it's used as a core part of the consonant systems in many languages in southern Africa, like Zulu and Khoisan. So when you put this all together, it's just, well, it's astounding. From a single unconscious breath, your body conducts this unbelievably complex symphony of super precise movements in your lungs, your larynx, and your mouth, just to create every single word you say. It's a biological masterpiece that we perform every day without a second thought. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you speak, doesn't matter if you're ordering a coffee or just chatting with a friend, take a second. Can you feel that hidden orchestra at work? The power from your lungs, the vibration in your throat, the quick little dance of your tongue. It's all there, happening in an instant. Thanks so much for joining me on this one.